Tensions continue to play out around the termination of the Zimbabwean exemption permit. Some organizations have called this decision a violation of human rights, while others say the country is right in applying this approach. Some have expressed concern that this could cause serious headaches when it comes to issues around undocumented migrants. One organization argues that this may have serious challenges for some employers. Let's speak now to Gerard Papenfos, who's the CEO at the National Employers Association of South Africa. Gerard, thank you so much for your time this evening. You say employers must prepare for the worst when the permits expire in December. Tell us more.
Well, there's two core challenges, but we cannot rely on that. So employers need to start make preparation for that. We've consulted with experts in the field of these type of visas, and the suggestion is that if employers want to apply or assist their employees to apply for the extension of these visas, that they do it now. It might just be that you might succeed if you apply, but the problem is that it's very expensive. And if you don't want to go getting somebody to assist you, you'll have to do it yourself, and it's apparently quite complicated. So this is a difficult path that lies ahead for these employees and the employers. One must remember these are good employees. These are many of them have established them in workplaces. They occupy positions of trust in seniority, and to replace them is extremely difficult. To replace an employee with skill, which you trust and which has a good attitude, is very difficult. And if you have a good employee, that actually creates employment. So this is a very unfortunate situation. If you keep in mind that these workers were lured to South Africa in 2009. Prior to the World Cup for their skills, and we needed labor at the time in the hospitality industry and in construction. And now, 12 years later, they have established themselves in South Africa, married, have children, established themselves in workplaces, and now we want just to throw them out of the country. And the problem is it won't do anything to unemployment. This is not the problem. To put 180,000 employees out of the country won't solve South Africa's woes. If it was criminals, yes, it would have. But these are good people. So I think we make a big mistake. It is immoral what we're doing. We send people back to a country where there's no future. And the question is, why did we invite them to South Africa in the first place? If this was the plan, I think this is entirely the wrong move.
And the department arguing, though, that this is not a witch hunt. They simply are trying to ensure that they can account for everyone in the country, and those that will then be successful will be able to, find their way back in the country. And those who are not supposed to be here and, won't be in the country. So how then do you respond to that? Because the department says it's trying to account for every citizen that is in the country.
Well, if that is the idea behind this whole thing, perhaps one can't find fault with that. But you have to apply for a work permit here, and many of these people don't have critical skills. They are general laborers, and the department can argue, their positions can be filled by South Africans. So if they will have a hard approach, a strict approach toward this thing, it will be extremely negative for these people. But if they have a bit of a relaxed approach in respect of them, it will really be welcomed. And therefore, we urge employers to help their employees in this regard. It's going to cost money. I was actually surprised this afternoon when we got somebody to our office, and somebody that knows this game, and I said to him, "You're too expensive," and he explained to me why it is expensive. But, we've put out a circular this afternoon in which we gave his contact details to people and say, listen, contact him if you need help. I know that many employers will actually help their employees to get it. But even if you do, if it's not a critical skill that is required, there's a bit of an uphill battle to get it. But I hope the department will have a very relaxed approach towards them. If it is just to account, it will be account for them. But I mean, these people live under an unusual amount of stress at the moment. Can you imagine? You've married here, you've got children here, you've established yourself in a particular society, and now you kick out of the country. This is huge. And I mean, if you think of all the illegal people in South Africa, there are millions, many more people illegally in South Africa than those with permits. So I don't think that will solve the problem, and the wrong group has been targeted here.
And so, as I'm listening to you, you're calling for government to also not apply a hard approach, as you call it. There are some, though, I'm sure you've heard this because, there's been quite a lot of talk around this in the public domain. They say that South Africans have their own challenges and they would like to also get into these, kind of industries where some of, the Zimbabweans have been, and they've done, as you say, they've done well over the past couple of years. Now, how then do you respond to those who are saying, allow South Africans to also be into these spaces, as opposed to this particular, these industries being filled by people who are not South Africans? How do you then respond to that, concern by some South Africans? Yeah.
Well, let's just for the purpose of this discussion, accept that the allegation that people employ for instance, Zimbabweans just to get cheap labor. Let's say that's not true. And why I adopt this approach is simply because it is generally not true. Of course, there will be employers that abuse that situation. But generally, it's not true. Foreigners have the same rights. So why do restaurants, for instance, prefer a Zimbabwean in a restaurant? It's because of particular skill, particular touch. I've got a friend who's got a truck company, transport company. He's losing a few of these, and he says it's so difficult to replace that skill. These people were looking after this equipment of him that's costing millions. Good attitude, very trustworthy. So, if you want to replace a person said, I demand a job. That's not the person that's going to get the job. You must have the skill and you must have the right attitude. That's what people are looking for. So to say I'm a South African and therefore I want a job, not going to help you. You need to go there and prove that you've got a good attitude, you're not entitled, and you're skilled. Then you get a job. No, any employer would choose the right person for the job. It is not. No person will say, "I don't want to employ a South African." He employs the best guy for the job. Unfortunately for South Africans, these guys come here and they work, and that's why employers love them. And they want to retain their services. So, yes, but we're looking at the wrong place for jobs. We must grow this economy. Then we'll open the door for millions of jobs. To penalize 180,000 workers and thinking you will create jobs for others is simply an entire misconception. We're not going to make a dent into this problem.
And when you're listening to the employees, in fact, the employers in this particular case, there are, of course, the challenges, the core challenges that we alluded to a little earlier on in this discussion. Are they hoping that these could grant them some kind of reprieve so they're able to maybe get some more time or even an extension with their employees? Because some have said on the ground that this process, even in and itself, is a bit of a tedious one.
Well, two things. The one is get your application in. Once it's in, I think you will have bought some time for yourself. That's the first thing. But buying time is not the first price. What we need is this is my view on this. There might be other South Africans who disagree with this, but I just think we're wrong here. After these people helped us out in the World Cup and we allowed them for 12 years to stay here and then kick them out of the country, I just wonder if a court might not look at this and say, but this is in principle very wrong. You've misled these people. If you brought him in for a year and said, this is a job for a year, and after a year you must go back, well, that was the arrangement then, and then you know what you're in for. But I mean, I believe they were entirely surprised when after 10, 11, 12 years, they were told, you know what, you're no longer welcome. And I think that creates a terrible picture of South Africa as well.
All right.
We're better than that.
All right. Thank you so much, Gerard, for your time. Let's see then what happens with these court challenges. That was Gerard Papenfuss, CEO at National Employers Association of South Africa.